Hello YouTube, I'm sorry I am once again a bit late for the preseason changes, but today's video is gonna be me reading and giving my opinion on the preseason changes. So I'll be reading the entire thing out, but there will be timestamps for all of the important segments, so you can just skip forward in the video if there's something specific that you want my opinion on. So, preseason 2023 changes will begin hitting PBE tomorrow. Before they're out, we wanted to walk you through all of the changes you can expect to see roll out to PBE over the next few weeks. We're shipping them a bit early this year to give us time to test changes and gather your feedback. So make sure you get those games in. There's plenty to try out. Housekeeping note. Things will be in a pretty early state when you first see them, so expect changes to things like icons, items, and effect names, visual and sound effects, stat values, and more as we continue to test features during PBE. Bearing massive table flips, this preview page won't be updated after publishing when the patch notes come out. They will all have the final details as usual. The return of Chemtech. Chemtech Drake will be returning this preseason with a brand new buff and soul. Chemtech Drake will now grant a small amount of tenacity and health/shield strength when slain. Chemtech's soul will grant bonus damage when below a certain amount of health. Bonus damage when below, okay. Alongside the Chemtech Drake, the Rift will take on a new Chemtech inspired appearance featuring Sawnite chemicals and mutated jungle plants with upgraded effects. Blast cones will now blast those in range twice as far as before. Honey fruits will upgrade into stim fruits, no longer slowing champions that will consume them and granting a small bonus shield in addition to the usual heal. Skyre's bloom will upgrade into Stalker's bloom. When hit, these plants will now reveal a small circular area around the plant and a cone opposite of the direction it was hit, granting movement speed towards revealed enemy champions and reducing wards revealed to 1 health. Jungle improvements, avatar smites and jungle pets. So I actually heard about this, and apparently now we are gonna have Pokemons in the jungle, so that's gonna be fun. The jungle is a dangerous place and it's dangerous to go alone, so take one of these jungle pets by purchasing them in the in-game shop as an egg. These pets will acquire treats through monster kills and slowly over time as the game progresses, which will help them evolve. Once evolved, pets will give their owners avatar buffs, which empowers them with different abilities. Noxium Embercat, I'm assuming that's the red one. This will be the pet of choice for junglers looking to play more aggressively. It will provide slows and bonus damage. Ixteli Ixamander, no idea which one of the colors it is. This jungle pet is perfect for junglers looking to frontline and tank. Okay, it's probably the green one then. For their teams, it will provide a shield based on your health that provides bonus slow resist and tenacity when broken. Ionian Cloud Leaper. This jungle pet will be great for junglers looking to rotate and move around the map more quickly. It will provide bonus movement speed. Leashing range indicators. In an effort to make the jungle more welcoming to players unfamiliar with the role, we'll be adding visual leashing indicators that will show how far camps may be pulled before the patience starts diminishing. We're also decreasing the distance camps can be pulled, so no more having to stand on the perfect pixel in order to hyper optimize your jungle clears. Recommended jungle paths. Another addition we have to help make the jungle more accessible are recommended jungle paths for every champion. These first clear paths were determined by gathering data from high skilled junglers on their high mastery champs across the globe. Pathing recommendations are based on which routes most often led these players to a victory and will be updated each patch. Communication tools, updating the ping wheel. League is a team game at its core. In order to better facilitate communication between teammates, we're doubling the number of pings available to players. The pings on the wheel will now be as follows. Returning pings clockwise, retreat on my way, assist me, enemy missing. New pings clockwise, push, all in, hold, bait. New vision pings. We're also adding an entirely new ping wheel that focuses primarily on vision. Using this wheel, you can now indicate the following. Vision cleared, enemy vision, need vision. Objective voting. Getting your team on board with taking an objective can be difficult, and having everyone ping on my way if they can contest or retreat. If they can't, can get very confusing. We're introducing a new voting function that will appear when objectives are pinged that will function similarly to a surrender vote. Now all players can vote and indicate whether or not they'd like to take or contest that objective. Off-screen pings. The last communication change we have for you is a small quality of life update that will notify which direction an off-screen ping came from by displaying it on the edge of your screen. Enemy missing pings will show on your screen regardless of where they're pinged on the map, while retreat, on my way, assist me, hold, all in, and push pings will only be displayed if they're pinged within 3000 units, approximately corner to corner of your screen when fully zoomed out, or 20 TMOS off your screen's edge. Vision systems update. Allied word tracking. While there are currently ways to see how many words you have out, there isn't a quick way to check which words are closest to expiring other than manually looking at every placed word. We are introducing new word visuals on the minimap that will indicate when words are close to expiring. They will change appearance when words reach 60 and 30 seconds remaining before they expire. Enemy word timers. It can be hard to keep track of every single word that gets placed on the map, and even hard to successfully communicate that information to your teammates. Now, if you ping an enemy word you saw them place within the last 10 seconds, a perfectly accurate word timer will appear until the word is removed or expires. Loadout and ability recommendations. Recommended rune pages and summoner spells. Another change we are excited to introduce are optimal recommended rune pages and summoner spells in Champion Select. Once you lock in your champion, you'll see a recommended runes button to the left of the edit rune page button. Opening this interface will display up to 3 rune and summoner spell setups you'll be able to select to use in game. This system is still being fine-tuned, so you can expect to see more on this later on in the preseason. These recommendations will be updated once per patch and are informed by what setups are optimal and popular. Of course, you're always welcome to theorycraft and bring whatever loadouts you want. Recommended abilities. We're also helping players in-game by providing them with recommended ability levels up. These will indicate which abilities are typically ranked up at each level, and similar to above will be updated once a patch based on what is currently optimal. Top lane changes. We're also making some adjustments to help top laners scale faster and hit those key items and level breakpoints faster relatively to mid and bot lane. The change will be as following. Solo lane experience. Solo laners will now receive a 95% experience multiplier, which was previously 93% from minions. Duo lane experience. Duo laners will now receive a 22% bonus experience multiplier, which was previously 24.73 from minions. Mid lane gold changes. All minions spawned in the middle lane will now be worth 1 less gold before 40 minutes when lasted. Previously only cannon minions were worth less gold, but were worth 10 less gold. New and updated items. We're introducing 12 new updated items in this preseason. As a disclaimer, please note that the item stats, effects, and even names are subject to change while on PvE. So I actually think I'll make a separate video on the items, because otherwise this video will simply be too long, because we already reached 8 minutes and I just read through the entire thing. Okay, so return of Chemtech. So they announced that it was gonna return, and now it gives small amount of tenacity and health, and heal and shield strength when slain. So I'm assuming that it kind of works like the support item, that whenever you get shielded or healed, then it gets multiplied. Which seems very, very, very specific, because there are some champions that don't have a heal or a shield in their kit. So it seems kind of like the most niche champion out there, because on all the other drakes, even though there are of course better drakes for certain champions, all champions more or less will benefit at least slightly from it, except from maybe Cloud Soul, but this is just a regular buff. Chemtech Soul will grant bonus damage when below a certain amount of health. This is basically just like Last Stand in the runes, so that's fine. And then I don't understand what it means by alongside the Chemtech Drake, the Rift will take on a new Chemtech inspired appearance featuring sonite chemicals. does this happen permanently, or is this only when it is Chemtech Rift? I am not sure about this, so let me know in the comment section down below if you understand it. And then blast guns will now have double range. I mean, fair enough. Honey fruits will no longer slow and will give bonus shield. And Scryer's bloom will reveal circle area, give you movement speed, and reduce words to 1 health. I mean, it's fine. These are just smaller changes. I don't think they will change anything crazy. And then we get to the Pokemon, so jungle improvements. So I am expecting that it's gonna be, I mean, I don't know if it's gonna be working exactly like the Smite, but the current Smite is that you get the upgraded Smite at 5 Smites. So because there's not any additional information in terms of this, I don't really know if this is good or bad. It could be a buff for junglers overall, if it means that we don't have to go an item, and it will work similarly to the current Smite changes, where you get the Smite item. Once you use the Smite, once you use your Smite 5 times, you lose the item, but you get the bonus effect. If it's similar with these jungle pets, that you get an item and then at a certain point you lose that item from your item slot, but you still have the effects from the item, then obviously it's a buff to all junglers, which we will gladly take, because we haven't really gotten an overall jungle buff in about 3 years now. I think season 9 was when they changed jungle and started nerfing it. So yeah, we will gladly take that. But if this means that you will have to have an item in order to have this jungle pet, and that jungle item is not either gold efficiency wise not that good, or just for champion specifically wise, if it delays your power spike and whatever, then it could be a nerf for some champions and a buff for other champions. So I'm hoping it means that it's a buff for jungle. Besides that, I don't really have an opinion on if it's good or bad. It just sounds weird to me. I don't know why this change is here. I don't know who recommended it. I don't know what problem it fixes, or if this is purely just a let's just throw some random shit in here in preseason and try it out. Again, I don't know. Then we have leashing range indicators. So I've been told that you can no longer kite the jungle camps as far as before, which in my opinion is really bad, because specifically around raptors, a lot of mid lane champions that will have prio will typically ward the raptors, and if you can't pull the raptors into the bush anymore, well then you can either you can potentially lose some HP, you can potentially get killed on it, you can potentially lose the raptor camp to an ability from the enemy mid laner, and that would really suck. And generally speaking, being able to kite the different camps is just an essential thing for jungle, and it just has been an essential thing for a very long time, and it's not one of the things that needs to be removed in my opinion, because it's not currently a problem that you can leash these jungle camps quite far out to a certain extent, and this is focused on, again, newer players. And again, I don't have any data on this, but I am pretty sure that there are not as many newer players as before, because we have been playing this game, well, some people have played this game for 14 years. Someone like me have played it for, well, about 7 years, 8 years, something like that. Recommended jungle path. This is again just focused on new players or lower skill players or autofill players. Which again I don't think is needed. So if anything, I really hope that this is something that you can simply disable, because this is not something that I need and many other players won't need. So I hope it's a feature that is added that you can disable if you don't want it, because then it's fine, because it will help newer players or players who are new to jungle, whatever, and then it is okay. But if it's gonna take up some from my screen, or give me some notifications in game or make a sound or be in the UI in one way or another, it's gonna piss me off and it's gonna be very annoying. So I hope it's something that you can disable. But yeah, if you can disable it, it's fine. If you can't disable it, it's shit. Communication tools. So we get 4 new pings, which are push, all in, hold, and bait. Now I'll first give my opinion on the actual changes. So push is quite good. I would say freeze should also be in there. Slow push arguably should also be in there. All in, I think it's fine. Hold, I'm assuming that basically what means freeze, but I think they should just name changes to freeze. Bait, I have absolutely no clue about what it's supposed to mean, because baiting can be so many different things. It can be bait an ability, it can be bait a summoner spell, it can be bait the enemy jungler to get here. Like, it is a very broad definition. Therefore, I don't think it's that useful. It has to be a little bit more specific in my opinion. And then the vision pings, we have vision cleared, we have enemy vision and need vision. So vision cleared, I think is fine. Enemy vision we already have. And need vision is also okay. Currently what you would do now is you would just spam ping like assistance or on my way, and then you would spam ping the support's ward in their inventory to signal towards your support that they should ward. But having this is completely fine. Now, what I will say is that this was not the change that I was hoping for. I really was hoping for voice chat. And I know a lot of people have very mixed opinions on this because League is a very toxic game. And in my opinion, voice chat should be added. Maybe not to everyone, but it should be experimented with. So I would like it, and I've mentioned this previously, I would like it to be tested in either a certain an ELO bracket, a specific server, throughout preseason. And then depending on how that experiment goes, if people like it or dislike it, then you can say we're going to be adding voice chat to more servers, more ELOs, etc., etc. Or they're going to say, voice chat did not have the outcome that we wanted, so therefore we are gonna disable it again and then simply remove it. That is what I was hoping for, because League is a very much communication focused game, and something like Champions Queue does have voice chat, but only NA has Champions Queue, which in itself is a bit weird, but fair enough. And then the fact that that specifically has voice chat and anything else doesn't, and other games such as Valorant has voice chat, which is also a communication based game. Now maybe not nearly as fast-paced as Valorant. League is still a game that in my opinion would not be bad having voice chat in. Now I understand that it can be toxic and whatnot, but just implement the same system as you would have in Valorant, where you can where you don't have to join. You don't need a microphone necessarily to join, meaning that you can just hear what your teammates are saying, and then you can be the one pinging or whatever, if you're either shy or don't have a mic or whatever, and then have the option to mute someone if they're toxic, and then have the option to simply just like not join in, but like get out of the voice chat call entirely, like leaving the entire call, so that you can't hear anyone and that you don't speak to anyone, and then you just play League of Legends completely normally. I would very much like that change, just for a period of time, having it being tested during preseason, but unfortunately it doesn't look like that's what we're getting, and we're getting this instead, which I am upset about. Moving on, objective voting. Again, if you had voice chat, it would simply be much better. The issue I have with this is typically you're saying that objectives are like a 5-man objective when it comes to stuff like Baron and maybe even Elder. But most of the time it's actually just gonna be 2 people. For example, if it's Rift Herald, can be top and jungle, Can also be 3-man on Rift, top, mid, and jungle. Can also be 4-man Rift, where you throw the support into a rotation as well. And very rarely you can throw a 5-man Rift, where you also rotate the AD carry or do a lane swap or whatnot. Same thing goes for Drake. Rarely will a top laner have any influence on the first 2 Drakes because of how the current TPs are. And I know that they are also changing TPs, which I'll make a separate video on about the items, but it's going to be very weird having someone voting on an objective where he doesn't really have any influence on it. And on top of that, we don't know how long the timer is. We also don't know when you can start the timer. If it's a certain period before the Drake spawns, we also need to know how long is the duration for. And then it just seems very weird that everyone has to vote when not everyone has to be going on that specific objective, meaning that some people would simply not vote. On top of that, having to vote in the middle of the game seems very weird, like adding new things that doesn't really have anything to do within the actual game to just vote on something. That seems weird. And again, voice chat would make it a lot easier, and then you could just remove this and it would be better. Then we have off-screen pings. This I actually think is quite nice, that if you have experience from shooter games, typically when you get shot, in most shooter games these days, it will have an indicator on the left, on the right, on the bottom, and in front. A small indicator, typically in red, that will indicate where did you get shot from. And it's going to work the same way, I'm assuming, here, where if someone is pinging to the right of where your screen is, then you will get a ping on the right side. If it's on the left, it's on the left. If it's above you, it's on top. And if it's below you, then it's on the bottom. That is actually a really nice change, and I actually like it. So good job, Riot. Then we have vision system updates. So allied word tracking. This, I think, is, again, a noob-focused change, because supports should be able to keep track of the 3 to 4 words that they are placing. And teammates don't necessarily need to word track where currently your own support's vision is. And this is just speaking from my own experience. It's only when I'm playing support that I'm keeping an eye on how long are my own words up for, because I would like to place new ones. Whereas if I'm just playing with a support, then I'm just being aware of the fact that, oh, I have vision over here, but I'm not going to be checking for how long do I have vision or do anything else with it. I'm just going to be looking at, okay, I have vision in this area. I need to pay attention. If I see anyone, I can potentially make a call simply from the information that now I get on my opponent that the opponent doesn't have on me. So I basically have an advantage from the vision in terms of information. Enemy word timers, I also think is just a very noob-focused thing. The fact that it will, I'm assuming it just happens automatically, that it will just ping for you that there's been like a word here within the last like 10 seconds and give you a timer. That will appear until word is removed or expires. Like this, I don't really like, because first of all, it's some more added information that most players are not gonna be utilizing simply because of not knowing how to. And it also means that for the current players that do actually exploit this, in terms of knowing how long exactly vision is around for and timing it. So for example, if you gank and let's say a vision is up for 15 seconds, and then the jungler is staying for 15 seconds just outside of vision and the word expires and then the jungler moves in, that is simply not going to be as an exclusive or how can you say it, like a good play as before, because now more people can do it and then there is an automated system for it. So I don't like this change, and I don't like this change. I don't think this vision system updates is going to do anything, realistically speaking. Loadout and ability recommendation, again, it's just a very noob-focused preseason, it seems like, because recommended runes and summoner spells, I mean, you have different websites that you can be utilizing this for, and sure, you can have it, but again, just like the other things that I mentioned, I hope this is something that you can simply disable or enable, so that for the newer players, they will enable it and they will maybe utilize it, whatever. And that more experienced player can simply disable it and then it will seem normal. Now, what I will say is that recommended rune pages and summary spells, when I'm reading this, just like anything else that is being recommended based off strictly data, is not always gonna be the best choice. It's maybe gonna be a better choice on average. So let's say on a scale from 1 to 10, 5 would be average. The rune page that you're being given would be like a 6 or 7. But if you were speaking to a very experienced player, or you could kind of specialize the stats into showcasing specific matchup, specific situation, whatever, the rune page could maybe be optimized to an 8 or 9 or even 10. And it's going to be very tough to do based off strictly data. So I don't know how Riot is going to do it. And I actually don't think they are going to do it. So I actually don't even think for newer players it's going to be all that good if they want to become really good or maximize like their runes and summon spells and whatnot. And same thing goes for abilities. It's the exact same thing. Top lane changes. So I like that top laners now will get slightly more XP. This also goes for mid lane. So solo laners will get more experience. Typically solo laners will always be the highest level in the entire game. Typically it's top and mid lane together. Then it will be jungle, and then it would be AD carry, and then it would be support, because support will be roaming, whereas AD carry will stay in lane. Therefore, there's gonna be a difference in experience between the AD carry and support, typically speaking. The only issue I have with this, I don't mind it from a bot side perspective, because bot lane has been kind of like the meta that you play around for 90% of solo queue games for a very long time, like 2-3 years we were speaking. So I don't mind it being more solo lane focused at all. The only issue I have is that I don't see anything that when it comes to jungle. So the only thing that we're getting in jungle that could potentially be a buff are those pets. But what that also means is that there's going to be a bigger difference in terms of the solo laners in terms of levels and the jungler, and same thing from jungle to bot lane. So I would like to see some type of jungle changes which would give a small buff in terms of XP, because that is what jungle used to. Jungle used to give a ton of experience, and junglers used to be actually the highest level in the entire game. But that's not the case anymore. They will typically be the third highest in the game after the solo laners. And I don't want the gap between the solo laners and the junglers in terms of experience to get even bigger, which from these changes it seems like it's going to be. So yeah, overall, to give my opinion, to round it off when it comes to the preseason, seems like it's very much focused on newer players, which doesn't really make sense in my opinion, because I don't personally think there are going to be that many newer players coming in for a game that has been around for over a decade. A lot of the changes are either weird or doesn't really seem to be fixing a problem within the game. And then there are some obvious features that I feel like they could have added that they didn't even mention here. If they would mention something about like the solo queue ladder, like behavior stuff, tribunal system, voice chat, anything like that, they could basically give their opinion on either that we're delaying this or we don't want to do these changes right now, whatever, and at least give a statement on it rather than just completely ignore it, because I think a lot of players were kind of looking for bigger preseason changes than what we got so far. And then I will be making the items, I'll speak about the items in a different video coming out very, very shortly. So just to go through the entire thing from top to bottom. Return of Chemtech is fine. The updated Rift Herald and Fruits are fine. Jungle improvements is okay. Leashing range indicators, in my opinion, is bad. Recommended jungle paths, in my opinion, is bad. Communication tools in itself is okay, but compared to voice chat is bad. Objective voting, I think, is generally bad, but yeah, also comparing it to voice chat is bad. Off-screen pings I think is good. I think this is a very good change. Vision system updates I think is bad. I don't think this is good. Loadout and ability recommendation I also think is bad. And top lane changes I think is okay, but probably needs some slight adjustments when it comes to jungle. So that's the entire preseason changes. If you enjoyed the video, remember to leave a like. Please respond to me regarding that Rift Herald thing with Chemtech. Is it permanent or is it only when it's Chemtech Rift? Whatever. Please let me know because I didn't fully understand it. So someone in the comments is probably smarter than me and read something that I haven't or understood it in a different way and will explain it hopefully. So yeah, thank you for that if you do that. Otherwise, subscribe to my YouTube so you don't miss out on future videos, especially if you want to see the video on the Season 13 items. But besides that, I just want to say thank you for watching and I hope to see you guys in my next YouTube video. See you guys.